After buying property shares, when do I start earning, and to what percentage are property shares owners paid? Okay, so after buying property shares, you start earning when the property is on the market and I start generating, rent. See, the good thing about Jointly is that your investment is tied to an asset, to a property, and the performance of the assets determines, your returns. It is not a Ponzi scheme. It is not something in the air where you don't know where the money is coming from. If you get more bookings, if you charge more rent, you earn more money, right? So you start earning when the property is on the market. Now, let's say the property is an off-plan project, which means you are buying that property when it is being built. Now, when the property is finished, when we finish building the property, right, and then we furnish it, put it on the market, it starts generating rent. That's when you start earning. But let's say it's a property that we just bought. Let's say we buy a 2-bedroom apartment, we furnish it and put it on the market. You might start earning faster with that one. So off-plan properties are usually cheaper, which is the good thing about it, but it will take you longer to earn with those ones. But you can come in, cheaper, right? But built properties are more expensive. Let's say an off-plan property sells for 70 million naira. Let's use naira, right? When you are buying, the built property might be selling for 95 million naira when it's fully built. So yes, when the property is put on the market and starts earning rent, you start to earn. To what percentage are property share owners paid? Now, your ownership of the property, how much shares you own in the property determines how much you earn in rent. Let's say you end up owning 1% of the property, you earn 1% of the net rent. If you own 10% of the property, you earn 10% of the rent. So the number of shares you buy in the property will determine, the percentage that you are paid. And that's simple. How is the allocation of profits calculated? Is it based on the units of shares purchased? Yes, I answered that already. It is based on the units of shares purchased. If there are 10,000 shares and you bought 1,000 shares, you own 10%, right? And whatever profit comes, you own 10%. But if you own 1%, it's 1%. If you own, let's use Autograph Lagos now that is currently on the platform as of today, right? If you invest 8,700 naira out of the total value of 87 million naira, you own around 0.01% of that property, right? So you earn 0.01% of the rent. But if you keep acquiring more, and let's say you end up acquiring 0.5% or 1%, you earn 0.5% or 1% of the rent of that property. How do I know when the asset value appreciates? You will know when the asset value appreciates when we update that the new value of the property on the platform. It will reflect in your portfolio because you will see a growth in the value of your portfolio. Let's say you bought a total of, let's say, 2 million naira in one property, and the value appreciates by maybe 10%. The 2 million naira will now be worth 2.2 million naira. So you would see the increase. What and to what percentage will I be entitled based on asset appreciation? It's just the same thing with what I've explained, already. If you buy 10% shares, you own 10% of the property. If the property appreciates by 20%, the value of your shares will appreciate by 20%. If it appreciates by 50%, the same 50%. So the value of your shares appreciates in direct proportion with the appreciation of the property itself. Are the returns on Jointly paid yearly or monthly? So the returns on Jointly, we actually call it rent, right? Rent will be paid yearly and quarterly. Yearly and quarterly, dependent, and this is dependent on, how we collect rent in the property. If you collect monthly rent, then we pay you quarterly. If you collect yearly rent, then we pay you yearly. For co-build, you are going to earn at the end of the project. So let's say it takes 12 months to complete the project and another 3 months to finalize and sell off. And then it's going to take 15 months for you to get back how much you put in the project plus your profits. Will investors be informed of how much the property will be rented for and exactly how much they should expect annually? Yes, of course. It's just like you owning a 2-bedroom apartment and you give it to a property manager, and the property manager is managing the property. Then they rent the property and they don't tell you how much they rent it for. I mean, who does that, right? So all co-owners of a property, the moment your property is rented or the moment your property is listed on the short-let market, you are going to be informed, this is how much your property is being listed for, right? At the end of every month, you are going to get a report. This is how many days were booked. This is how much your property made. These are the expenses that were made on your property. This is the net rent, right? And all that is going to be accumulated in a report and sent to you because you are a co-owner in that property before you even receive your rent. So yes, you are going to know. And how much should you expect annually? If your property is leased, if we put your property on rent, let's say it's monthly rent, and the person signs a 1-year lease, right? We inform you that this person signed a 1-year lease, they are making monthly rental payments. So this is what you should expect. If there are any changes, it is your property, so you should know what is happening in your property. It's just like you owning the entire property, but this time you are owning it with a group of persons. How secure are my funds? So I'll answer this question in 2 different ways. First of all, when you carry out a transaction online or jointly, right, you make payments using Paystack, through a Paystack channel. And we all know Paystack. Paystack is a secure platform, right? So that is secure. Your money is secure. Now, when it comes to your funds being with us, first things first, you have to understand that the good thing about Jointly is that your money is tied to a particular real estate asset, right? And what is safer than an asset that you can see, touch, feel, right? So your money is safe in that asset. Secondly, we are setting up, corporate governance to ensure that Jointly is not controlled by a team of individuals, rather by a set of laws and systems. And this entire corporate governance would involve a board of trustees that direct the decisions we make on Jointly, which includes the kind of properties we invest in, when we take out funds, to purchase a property, and everything that has to do with your funds. This ensures that your money is safe and is not controlled by any individual, not even me. Thirdly, we are also going to be partnering with a third-party asset management company, that would ensure the management of your assets. So we are putting different things in place, right, to ensure that your money is safe, your investment is safe, and your details are safe. Finally, the last step, after purchasing a property, to list on Jointly is to insure the property. This ensures that even if there is maybe fire or something that happens in future after the property is on the market and is earning rent, we can always get succor for that. If maybe the property is gutted by fire, the insurance companies, right, would have to reimburse us so that we can replace that property. So I would say that your money is safe and secure on Jointly. When will the investment expire? So if you're investing in a co-build product or property or project, it expires when the project is delivered and sold and your money is returned to you. For co-owned properties, it doesn't expire. You own that property share for life or until you sell it. Maybe when you sell it, that's when it expires. Or when the property is sold, that's when it expires. But you continue to earn rent from it. For co-lease, when the lease is over and we do not renew it, that's the end. So I hope I have answered that question correctly. Now, if something goes wrong, will I still get my money back? Now, the first question we should ask is, what could go wrong? If we buy an apartment and put it on the market, the worst that can happen is we are not getting the amount of rent that we want to get, right? So we have to ensure that we put in measures in place to get the amount of rent. If we are co-building the property, and what could go wrong is that the project period is extended. So instead of 8 months, it takes maybe say 12 months, right? And as equity owners in that project, we all know that we are co-building that project. It's not like you're just putting money for returns, right? So what that could happen is that the project is delayed, right? That's what could go wrong. And yes, you could get your money back. So let's say the value of the project has appreciated. You could decide to sell your property shares on the secondary market, right? And someone else buys it if you cannot wait. For co-lease, the worst that could go wrong is that we do not get as much bookings as we want. And to mitigate that, we put some measures in place to ensure that we don't, go with our two legs into the water without understanding how the property market in the particular area we are investing in works. So the good thing is that you're putting your money in property, and we are jointly always taking steps to ensure that whatever money you're putting in this property is safe and generates the rents or the returns that it is expected to generate. Can I get a refund for the investment? The truth is, you can't get the refund once you bought property shares in the property, right? The only way to get your refund is to sell your property shares, right? You could decide to sell your property shares on the secondary market and jointly buys it back, or someone else buys your property shares and you get your money back. But the truth is, it is possible to get your money back, but not a refund from jointly. Assuming I invest 100,000 naira in a year, does it mean that whatever percentage I'm getting at the end of the year will be added to the 100,000 naira in my wallet? Or is it only the percentage owned I'll be getting in my wallet? Let me answer this using an example. If you buy an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment for 40 million naira, you put it on the rental market, you put a tenant in that property, and at the end of the year, the tenant pays you 2 million naira. Will you be getting the 2 million naira plus the 40 million naira, or only the 2 million naira? Now, you'll be getting 2 million naira in rent, but the 40 million naira is in that property, right, that you own. That is the value. The only way you can get that 40 million naira back, or more of it back, is if you sell that apartment. But every year, you are sure of getting that rent. In the same way, if you invest 100,000 naira to buy property shares, at the end of the year, or at the end of the period, you get your rent from that property. If 100,000 naira is 1% or 0.1%, right, you earn 1% or 0.1% of the rent realized. If the 100,000 naira, if the property is sold, the 100,000 naira will be returned to you with the extra appreciation or with the profit gotten from selling that property. If you decide to sell your shares in that property, all your shares in that property, you can get the entire 100,000 naira back with profits if the property has appreciated. But if you are investing in a co-build product, a project that we are co-building, at the end of the period when the property is built and sold, you get back your 100,000 naira plus the profits from co-building that property. So understand, for co-build is short-term, you put money, it's sold, you get back your money and profits. For co-own, you don't get back that 100,000 naira, but you own those shares that will continue to appreciate. And whenever you sell those shares, you make back that money and profit. Or when the property is sold, you make back that money and profits. Kaboom.